Greetings, demons, and welcome to Warhammer Weekly, episode 20. And there is actually quite a lot to talk about, though the amount of detail I'll be going into, a lot of it is very low. But besides all that, let's get into the pickups first, and then we can get into the topics.
Not the leader of a cult, RabbitWithAxe.
So, starting off with pickups, I've actually got quite a lot this week, and surprisingly, that does not include Leviathan. Even though I've got it pre-ordered, and even though it should have arrived yesterday, it hasn't. It's probably going to be here Monday or Tuesday, so I guess I'll cover that in next week's episode. But still, I got quite a few things, just because I'm in a Warhammer mood as of late. With Leviathan coming out, I've been very much trying to build my armies the way I want them, and that includes, I now have a Lord Invocatus. I know this model cannot be used regularly in CSM. I'm using it as a Blood Crusher. I just like this model. The idea of having the Rhino or whatever, it's just unfortunate you can't actually... what is actual Rhino called? Juggernaut. So you can't actually run the Lord on Juggernaut or Lord Invocatus in a CSM army, but you can run the Chaos Demons equivalent of it, which is what I'm using it as. I'm just going to paint this up as if it's Thousand Suns, essentially, and then call it a demon unit, because I wanted this model since it got announced. I really do like it. I have actually built it, but I'm not going to be showing it off because it isn't finished. But, yeah, I like this model too much not to get it. When I was actually at the Warhammer store getting it, I was almost tempted to get the entire Combat Patrol for World Eaters. I'm not going to, because I don't plan on having a World Eaters army, and there's no reason for me to run them, because I don't want a melee-focused army. I just really like this model. And, yeah, so I now have it. This adds to the collection of various Chaos units that I can't actually run in my army properly, because I also have some what they call Death Guard. I have some Death Guard units I just can't run at all. I can't even run them as something else. But, yeah, Lord Invocatus / the Lord on Juggernaut. So, yeah, very cool unit, very cool model, and very happy to have that. I also, at the same time, picked up a new regular Space Marine unit, or I guess Imperial unit in general, because you can run it with anything. The Vindicator Assassin, which I haven't built yet, still on sprue. I think I mentioned last week I finished reading Assassinorum Kingmaker. This is Wraith. In that case, I'm going to be making a little display of all the main characters from, that audiobook. So, yeah, we've got the Vindicator Assassin to be Wraith. I still need the Calixus Assassin and the Tech one, which I can't remember the name of. But, yeah, as well as a Jester, what are they called? The Imperial Knight, the small one. I keep wanting to call it a War Dog, because they're the ones I actually care about. But, yeah, that scale of the smaller Knight, I can't remember what they're called. But, yeah, it's going to be nice when I actually have them all together. I'm not the biggest fan of this specific Vindicator Assassin model, but, honestly, when he's leaning against a Imperial Knight, it's going to be actually pretty nice. So, yeah, very nice pickup. I do think they're a bit expensive, all the Assassins kind of are, but it's fine, it is what it is. So obviously, it is that time of the month once more, where we get Stormbringer. So we have all the issues from 15 to 18? Yeah, I think. Yeah. So starting off with issue 15, you get the Stormcast Praetors, which are very nice. I don't really care about Stormcast, as I've said many times before. They're not the reason that I've been getting these. I get them for the Destruction Clan, for the, Oryx and stuff. And, yeah, there's also cool stuff like this, the Primal Lair, which is terrain pieces. I don't have too much terrain in general, so this is always a nice bonus. And I'm definitely actually going to be painting these up for 40k games rather than for AOS games. Because I really love that aesthetic. If I paint that in, blue, that'll really look like a Chaos platform for, Thousand Suns, which I think is really cool. But, yeah, very nice. We also have, with issue 17, Abaddon Black and Agrax Earthshade, which, this is my first time getting the new Agrax Earthshade, which is kind of interesting. But I think I do already have the new Abaddon Black, so that's all cool. Or actually, yeah, no, it's not even the new one, is it? It's just Abaddon Black in general. I'm thinking it's the Black Shade, or whatever. but it's not. So whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Let me sort out the board because that's all fallen over with me putting so much weight on it. But yeah, and then finally we of course have issue 18, which comes with Da Kunin Crew, which yeah is a neat little set of models. I do really like these, especially the two in the back with their extra armor. Just look very cool. But yeah, can't wait to build those and. Yeah, just add to my destruction army because it's coming along. My AOS army, it's getting there. One day it'll actually be usable, but yeah, very very cool. And along with that, we also got I got the Stormbringer Premium Set 1 because I do pay for premium, and it is Krogia, son of Drafamir or something like that. And it is the dragon, of course. Let me actually double check what he's called, because the magazine does say it. Give me a moment. Okay, Krondis, that's what it's called. Krondis, son of Dracothian, or whatever. Very nice model, very excited to get this guy built. This guy's just really cool. Obviously, he's an order model, so not something that I'm going to be running, but I'm very excited to actually get this guy built and painted. But yeah, very very neat and definitely worth the actual extra cost, because I think you pay an extra like £150 and get like £300 worth of units as bonus. So yeah, very much worth it to me. But that is everything. As I say, I am expecting to be getting my copy of Leviathan pretty soon, but yeah, there's been a lot of problems by the sounds of it with them actually getting them out to stores and stuff, and with mine being an order online, I just got really unlucky and I get a later shipment, so it is what it is. But yeah, into the topics we go. And starting off with the topics, we have a brand new 40k app. So this is essentially the replacement for the previous, I don't even know how to explain it, but essentially the app where you get the rules and the ability to build a army list, and we have a new version of that now. It's only temporarily free for everyone. It will become something that I believe is only available through Warhammer Plus or an individual membership of some description, but right now everyone's able to get it, everyone's able to use it, and honestly I've spent a good amount of time with it. I like it. I think it's actually pretty good. Genuinely, like, I think this is actually a better app experience, and it does help that with the new rules, with the new way that you build lists, the Battleforge is actually really usable. Honestly, I'm amazed at how easy building a list has become. I've currently got my Cult of Zeech built, my Chaos Space Marines, High Fleet Venom, which is my Tyranids, Vigilia Noctis, which is my Death Watch, and then Virtus Draconis, which is my partner's Chaos Space Marine / Chaos Demon, depending on how she feels that day. But yeah, I currently have those all built, and it is so simple. And at the end of the day, I'm always going to be a bigger fan of Battlescribe. Battlescribe is the better app still, but I must say, having the visualization that you get from the 40k app has been really nice. And just generally, like, it's a free app. If you already have Warhammer Plus like me, I believe it's going to remain free forever, which is always nice. And just generally, I think this is a good step in the right direction for Warhammer. The old app does still exist. It's a separate app. I'm not sure if it's still on the App Store itself, but if you already had it downloaded, you can still continue to use that for 10th edition and for 9th edition even. And yeah, generally all good from me. I'm very happy with this. The app is very nice, and yeah, very nice addition to the, I guess, list building experience. And moving on to what is going to be a bit of a quickfire round of a few different topics that I'm just going to quickly scroll over, and that's just because we have quite a lot of rule downloads that are now available, starting off with the Legends of the Horus Heresy. They're now available, so Adeptus Astartes, Heretic Astartes, and Adeptus Mechanicus models that have been made to Legends, they're now available, so you can continue to use those models. Obviously, they have stepped back with some of them. The Dreadnoughts, specifically, they have kind of just gone, oh, never mind, they're now actual, units that you can use. The Leviathan didn't survive, but the Contemptor is completely available still. It's just in the main rules. A lot of people were questioning it up until, including myself, up until the app launched. The app doesn't currently include any legends at all. However, it does include the Contemptor, only for Space Marine, plain old Space Marine. But that is still a major little boost to, players like me that do have Contemptors and want to be able to run them in this edition. It's weird that it just out of nowhere they just decided, actually we're not making it Legends. It does mean their articles are out of date, but either way, the rest of the rules for all the other models, including Leviathan, including the which one is it? The various tanks and stuff, they're all going to be, available in this document. Link in the description below for everything we're going to be talking about. And yeah, I haven't looked at them too in depth. From what I've heard, they're fine, but the fact that Legends means they're not going to get upgraded, so if there is anything that is kind of lacking, it's going to stay like that for the rest of this edition. So kind of unfortunate in that way, but at the end of the day, at least the Contemptor survives. We also got the datasheets for the points for Imperial armor, and yeah, I didn't realize how many factions actually have Imperial armor units. So this is obviously the Forge World units that are specifically Forge World units, things that could not possibly be made in plastic, essentially. And this includes the Space Marines, Eldari, Adeptus Custodes, Imperial Knights, Grey Knights, Necrons, Chaos Knights, Orcs, Tau Empire, Titans, Tyranids, Drakari, Astra Militarum, and there's actually a second Astra Militarum, but that's just because I think there's too much in terms of tanks to actually just fill out one document. But yeah, once again, I haven't really looked too much into this. I don't have a need for it. When it comes to Imperial armor, I don't personally have any, so it doesn't make sense for me to look for it. But yeah, I'm sure it's fine. It's made by Forge World teams, so they typically make things a little bit too overpowered and have to nerf them later. But we'll see. And of course, most people are never gonna have to run against or play Imperial armor just because of the fact that it's a lot of it at least is very expensive, and on top of that, a lot of it is very, very big. You're talking about playing massive games realistically, rather than the standard 1,200 point, 1,000 or 2,000 point games that most people play. But yep, still nice to get the data sheets and points for it, and yeah, we can move on. Because we also got the combat patrol rules along with the boarding action rules, and obviously this applies to all factions within the game, all of them. And yeah, honestly, they're not that bad by the looks of it. I'm looking forward to the combat patrol rules. Obviously, you can only run with the contents of a combat patrol box, so if you don't own a combat patrol box for whatever reason, unlucky, I guess. Same with, to some extent, boarding actions. You can run anything in boarding actions, but it is based around the old boarding action boxes that have just been discontinued. And yeah, I don't know. For me, I quite like both of these. Combat patrol boxes are weird in how they're set up. I've been looking through the points of them, and genuinely, some of them are nearly 1,000 points, whereas some of them are nearly 500. It's like it was last edition, where they are very unequal in terms of points, but apparently they've all been measured out against each other, and in theory, despite point differences, they should actually all be equal in strength, which is interesting. It does make me feel better about the fact that with Combat Patrol being its own mode, essentially, it is going to be a little bit more fair than the main mode. A lot of people are saying that certain factions are going to be really low down in the main game, but Combat Patrol, it should be more close to a 50% win rate for all factions, which is better than nothing in a lot of ways. There's going to be some anomalies, obviously, but I'm looking forward to seeing it. They're probably going to release some new Combat Patrols just so there's a little bit more variety in terms of what you can use, but overall, I'm very happy with Combat Patrol. And when it comes to boarding actions, not a mode that I personally have too much interest in playing. I do own the Chaos Space Marine version of the Combat Patrol box. Sorry, the boarding actions box, should I say, the Arcs of Omen box, that's what it was. But yeah, generally, I'm not someone who really cares too much about playing that. Essentially, if I wanted to play that kind of mode, I'd play Kill Team. But yeah, still nice that we get the rules and we get to have some close quarters combat. And then going on the complete opposite side of those sorts of modes, we also got the rules for Crusade, and it looks pretty good. I've played one Crusade ever, and I didn't really have the time for it. It's not a thing that I can really do, just due to, work and other commitments. But yeah, it looks alright. You can actually transfer your current Crusades directly over to 10th edition, which is pretty nice. I don't know how exactly that works in practice, but it's nice that they at least offer that functionality. We are getting a Crusade book. I think it is actually available right now for the Tyrannic War, and yeah, generally it's nice that Crusade's getting carried over completely. From what I've heard about the rules, it's fine. I haven't really read it through because, once again, as I say, it's not really something I'm actively playing, so I don't really care for it too much, but seems fine, and yeah, it's nice that they do have that, as I say, that functionality of being able to carry over current Crusades into 10th edition. Very, very smart, and I'm very happy with that, just for the fact that I do have some friends that are still running a Crusade, so at least for them, they're going to be able to carry it over. But yeah, it's all good, so I guess moving on. And that brings us to what is essentially, in my personal opinion, a whole new game. We have the Gutter Bowl expansion for Blood Bowl, and this is essentially changing it from being on a pitch, like we've had for however long, to the mean streets of the old world. And just that sentence alone is amazing to me. Obviously, it's still roughly it's just fantasy in general. It kind of is AOS, it kind of is old world, it kind of is traditional Warhammer Fantasy battles. But yeah, genuinely, I am really excited for this expansion. I don't play Blood Bowl really, but this might make me change that, because this it screams of being like essentially a proper Warhammer game, essentially like a proper like AOS 40k 10th edition sort of game, just with Blood Bowl, which would be really, really interesting. It looks good. I haven't been able to like find too much information about it generally, but it seems interesting, and I'm actually kind of interested in picking this up. Obviously, it's an expansion. You do need the base Blood Bowl game, but realistically, that's not too hard of a sell. Blood Bowl is one of those games where I basically find it in every FLGS that I walk into, even though my local Warhammers, as in the Warhammer that is local to me and then the Warhammer I most go to, both of those never really seem to have the starter sets for Blood Bowl. My FLGS constantly does, like all the time. So, Blood Bowl's not that difficult to get your hands on, and then, most of it's Forge World anyway, so you can just get it online. But, yeah, the new expansion, Gutter Bowl. It looks very interesting. I'm very interested in seeing exactly how it plays specifically, because it sounds very interesting. The actual the idea of having street football as an option is really cool to me. But yeah, either way, there we go. Gutter Bowl expansion for Blood Bowl. It seems really cool. And that brings us to Age of Sigmar with a new Cities of Sigmar, I guess, deploy battlefield buddies is what they call it. But yeah, we're basically combining ogres and humans, which is kind of interesting. It's the Fusel Major on Ogre Warhulk, and it's a guy on a little post, and the post is stood on top of an ogre. That's what it is. It's really an odd model. I'm not a huge fan of it personally. I know that's basically a very common opinion. The ogre doesn't really look like an ogre, he just looks like a big human. He's considerably bigger than the human that's actually on top. And, yeah, they have, like, a little bit of a castle aesthetic with both the shield and the little outpost that the human stood on. It looks alright, I agree with a lot of people that it just looks kind of out of place, and the ogre especially just doesn't look like an ogre. It doesn't look enough like an ogre. And sure, this is very much something that you would see in a 40k setting as well, with like, I forgot what they're actually called, but the abhuman, with like the commissar. There's very much an aesthetic that you'd see like from the Ogrin. That's what it is, the Ogrin. But for me at least, and by the sounds of it for a lot of people online, it doesn't really work in Age of Sigmar as an aesthetic, and it's kind of unfortunate because the idea is actually kind of funny, and if it had been done in a way that people actually enjoyed, this could have been a really popular model, but as is, not for me, not for most people, and that's fine. Not every model has to be for everyone, and the people that are going to enjoy this are going to be absolutely in love. There are parts here that I'm very tempted to use for a Chaos Army, because there are some very interesting components here. The shield being like a castle wall is really cool to me. The little gun on top of the platform is weird for AOS, but like it would be really cool just to use that for something random. But yeah, genuinely, it's not the most interesting model, and yeah, hopefully it has some good rules and stuff for people that play Cities of Sigmar. I'm not one of them. I play Chaos. Oh, sorry, I play Destruction, should I say, in AOS. But yeah, still very cool. It is a actual plastic model as well, as far as I can tell, so not too bad. But yeah, that is everything I can say for it. And that leaves us with the final topic for this week, the Rumour Engine for the 20th of June 2023. And the system has been rebooted, which is very, very interesting. And with it came something with a skull wrapped around it, which is very interesting. There is also a little bit of lore stuff happening on the actual page you can check out yourself. I'm not going to go too much into it about the Rumour Engine, but yeah, the main thing is the actual Rumour Engine image, and yeah, it looks like it's probably something for Orruk, or one of the various AOS destruction factions, which is interesting. It definitely looks like some sort of dinosaur skull wrapped around a rock, which is then like attached to something else, which makes me think it's some sort of like club for one of the Orc factions from AOS preferably, but probably could also apply to the more animalistic ones from 40k. I can't remember what they're actually called, what that faction is, but yeah, it looks interesting. It looks neat. It looks cool. And I'm sure whatever model this is attached to will actually be really nice looking. I just don't have too much to say about it. But yeah, really, that is going to be everything for this video. So with all that said, I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure to like it, subscribe if you're new to it, and ring the bell so you never miss upload. Otherwise, it's going to be it from me. And yeah, bye.
Look at the screen, you'll be fine. Culture's a disease, but worlds divide. I just wanna take